community meeting hosted by the Flyer Levy Committee. Please keep in mind tonight that we are all local residents, just like all of you. We are not employees of the school or part of the school's administration. We are your friends, we are your family, your neighbors, and we have the simple goal of educating and advocating for the upcoming school levy. A quick introduction to my fellow members. Kylie Winter, Kyle Beater, Kelsey Sneezing, Jenna Seitz, Luke Berkey, Frank Evers, Kevin Oddie, Kaylee Fleck, and Anthony Chappell. Tonight you'll learn about some major challenges the Marion Local School District faces from our existing facilities. You'll also learn how this proposed project can help resolve some of those challenges. After you leave here tonight, you'll be able to walk away informed prior to casting your ballot on November 7th. To start off, let's talk about the people that are behind the development of the project. The Facilities Task Force is a group of around 40 community members that met over the course of 9 months. Every member is a volunteer, and anyone that asked to be a part of it was welcome. No one was turned down. Our school board and administration's goal in forming this Facilities Task Force was to have a cohesive plan for our school's future that was developed for our community by our community. On this screen, you'll see the names of every Facilities Task Force member. If you are a fellow member, I ask that you please stand up. And I want everyone else in the crowd to take a look around and see everyone standing up here tonight. There are people of all ages, from their 30s to their 70s, all occupations, teachers, farmers, business owners, doctors, stay-at-home moms, and babysitters. There are engineers, and the list goes on. Thank you. You can all take a seat now. As you can see, the Facilities Task Force is a very wide representation of our community, which was essential in developing this proposal. We heard opinions and we heard concerns from all angles of our community, and all of them were accounted for during the entire process. Over a year ago, we had our first meeting where we discussed the current challenges and needs of our school district, which I'd like to invite Kevin Oddie to come up and speak a little bit more on.
All right, thanks, Allison. So I won't take too long because we've got a lot of slides after I'm up here, but this kind of set the stage so everybody kind of understands where we started with the Facilities Task Force, how it all began, and why we came to this point today. So I guess they're starting with the senior members of the levy committee first and working down to the less senior members. So somebody's got to be the lowest, right, Frank? Yep. So I beat you by a little bit. So first off, some of the current challenges, increased enrollment. That's what matter. All right, so in 2026 and 27, we're projected to be short 7 to 8 classrooms in the K-8 building. So keep that in mind, K-8 building. So that's the building at the north end of the campus here. So it's maybe hard for you to see. There will be handouts later when everybody leaves, so all this information is in there. But on this graph here, it says what we have in 2023-24 present. It's 637 or 677. And by 28-29, we're up to 875. That's 281 more students projected. Now, how do we get to that number? It's based on projections from baptisms and previous class sizes. If you want more detail, I know some members of the school board put that information together, but that's a pretty big increase. That's a really big increase for 9 grades, essentially, 281 more kids. So that sets the stage of where we need to go from here. This is gymnasium space. The lack of floor space creates, some issues, some difficulties providing essential opportunities for extracurricular activities. Here again, in this chart over here, we have current, and this is pupil per gym court space, 303, projected to be 353. It's hard to see in this picture. This is K through 6 assembly, and there's about 4 rows of students sitting on the floor. Not even enough butts in the seats to accommodate an assembly. And then it just compares every other school district. Coldwater's a little higher, 333, but everybody else at Henry Parkway, Fort Recovery, in the 190s and less. So that was one of our concerns for the district challenges. The next is, quite frankly, a big item, maybe more so than the gym space, is cafeteria space. Now, maybe a lot of you that don't have any direct kids in the school district at the current time, or grandkids aren't old enough they're in school yet, but cafeteria time K through 8 starts at, what's it say, 10:40 in the morning, and it probably rotates every 20-25 minutes, just taking a guess, and trying to throw 200 and some kids through there, more than that, at any one given time, to one, get to the line, get a butt, on a seat, eat, finish eating, put the tray away, and leave and let the next group come through. So that's a big challenge, so keep that in mind as well. Special education, and I think there's going to be a video playing here shortly, just bear with us here. So this is just the current space for the special education needs. As the slide shows, it's kind of a converted storage closet due to the lack of space in classrooms for one. So that's a direct need as well for the district. You can't accommodate those kids that are in those special needs categories in a closet. Let's be honest, right? That's not right for the teacher, that's not right for the kids. So again, that's another challenge we have to accommodate. And to add to that, if the projection is going to be 100 plus kids per class by 26, 27, and if we want to keep a student-to-teacher ratio around 20, that's 5 sections per grade of 20 plus kids, right? So every kid through K through 8 who gets instructed on not only math, science, language arts, art, gym, tech, choir, band, that's that much more kids to run through those specials that they call them. Okay, not only special education, but just specials in general, to get all those kids to those opportunities. So again, that's another challenge we face. And I think the last slide I have is the aging infrastructure. Everybody knows that everybody's built a house, they build a barn, they build a shed. It gets older, right? Stuff needs replaced or general maintenance needs to occur. At what point do you keep sticking a Band-Aid on it, and a Band-Aid on it, and it keeps bleeding and bleeding before you rip it all out and go new? Okay? I mean, being from the ag industry, I just put a couple notes. If you have a hog barn and it's 20 years old, either let it go, or you put new gates and floor and feeders and everything else in it, right? You want to improve that facility to make it maintained over time. You're not putting Band-Aids on and hopefully it lasts 30, 40 years. So I'm kind of thinking in that regard as well. I do have one more. So from the facilities task force, I kind of led up to it with gym space, classroom space, special education space, cafeteria space, obviously. These are the top priorities. So as a task force, we were in yellow. So we have all the bars here. So the top 4 ended up being more classrooms, gym space, and ag career tech, which I didn't even mention, and then multi-purpose space. The community, when we had a first community meeting, we polled them as well, and the same comments came back as far as the top 4. More classrooms, gym space, ag career tech, and multi-purpose space. So when Frank Eber comes up, he's going to go over the project and kind of proposal how it's laid out. But those are the big items that we're looking at. We need classroom space, we need gym space, not just to shoot a hoop through the bucket, right? We need it for extracurricular activities, butts and seats, and so forth. Ag and career tech, I didn't mention that, but that was one of the top 4 priorities, as you can see, as a community. We live in a farming community, so we wanted that included with the project, and Frank will go over that as far as how it's situated there. So I think without further ado, we have Frank.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, the proposed area where we are planning on putting this is between the existing elementary and the baseball diamond. Additional classrooms, cafeteria and common area, gym and locker room space. This is the ag tech, and they got a greenhouse set up with it as well, and then administration. Even on the task force, we also thought about, with the aging infrastructure here, what could be the next phases as well, make it a full plan option. Obviously, phase 2 would be adding on for a new high school area. The classroom space is set up for 9 junior high academic classrooms with 2 additional renovations where the existing administration building is. The new gym will be set up for 2 courts, locker rooms, and then this gym here would become the junior high gym, to where the existing junior high gym would probably be mostly used for gym class. The food service area is set up for K through 9, but as you can see, where the cafeteria is set up, that would work with if we ever added on for the high school. The VOAG lab is set up for VOAG, Career Tech, Industrial Arts, and then obviously with the greenhouse, that is a big thing that the Ag department has been trying to get for the last couple of years. So if we can get that involved, that would help with that part as well. District administration, we put that in the new addition just for the fact that it's more centrally located. And then 2, we could also take that existing administration area and turn that into some classrooms. So one of the questions is, what if the levy doesn't pass? What are some of the things we could do to accommodate the additional students? Like Kevin was saying, the goal is to keep around 20 people per student. If we could bump it up to 28, which I think that is about the maximum we're allowed, and what it may take. This classroom is showing 20 students per teacher, what a 20-student classroom looks like. And then this is what 28 students would look like in a classroom. As you can see, it's floored. Kids nowadays don't just sit at their desk. They sit around in groups. They use the floor space to, make, I guess, learning a little bit more enjoyable. To keep the 20 kids per students, 20 students per teacher ratio, the one option would be to bring in mobile trailers. We did get some information to do that. We could lease them. What this is saying, to lease them is about $7,000 a year, but the initial cost to get them in is roughly $125,000, and that includes setup and tear down when the day comes that we tear them down. So we need, let's say, 7 of them. That'd be close to $875,000 for initial setup cost, plus additional $7,000 a year if we keep them more than a year. So we could do that. Obviously, that would accommodate some classrooms. Obviously, that's what they would look like, and that's what they'd be in the parking lot. But by doing just that, that $875,000 roughly does not include any site work, getting the ground level, where they're going to go. That doesn't include any utilities, hookup, electric, sanitary, data, and that also doesn't fix the gym space and our cafeteria issues we got. Luke is next.
When it comes to the funding of the project, we're looking at roughly $23 million in total. The first $2 million of that is going to come from the school's operating budget, with the remaining 21 to be funded by us as the taxpayers. So roughly 12 of that is going to come from property tax, and then $9 million is going to come from an earned income tax levy. So as we jump into the breakdown there, I'll get to the property tax in a second. I know that's a pretty hot topic. But when it comes to the earned income tax at the bottom, I had the honor of talking to the Sons of the American Legion last night and was sure to cover this topic as well. There are forms of unearned income that aren't affected. If you have rental income, farm cash rent, Social Security is a big one, IRA distributions, annuity lifetime income payouts, VA benefits, unemployment compensation, all of these listed here, dividends and interest as well, are unearned sources of income. So the big sources of earned income, which will be subject to this tax, wages, salary, tips, commissions, that's what's going to have that 0.5% tax. If you remember, if you were here at the first community meeting, this is going back several months. I don't know if I can talk into this, it's probably too low. The original proposal was for 0.25%, right? And one of the big pushes for us, this is a community built on agriculture. You know, we've got some folks in our communities going back years and years that have put countless efforts into improving this place, which is why so many dang people want to move here and why we have so many children in the district. You know, I remember when I was a kid, there was no sidewalks. I don't think there was an industrial park yet. We didn't have a park. And all of those people kind of put their necks on the line to get these things funded and started. So our big push was kind of minimizing the effect that it would have on those folks that are on fixed income, that aren't selling their properties and those sorts of things. And the biggest and easiest way to do that was to increase from 1/4 to 0.5% on that income tax, that earned income tax, so we could lighten the load on the property tax side. Now, I'm sure everyone in here got the same letter I did here the past month from the county auditor on your increased property values. Again, kind of a side effect of a good problem to have, and the fact that a lot of people want to live here and move here, and houses go for well above their appraised value. But a 40% increase in your property value does not reflect a 40% increase in your tax bill. And you're going to receive a letter from Dave Walters soon that's going to spell that out. But when it comes to this school project especially, that $12.3 million that we're raising on the property tax levy is a finite number, right? So if our property values are going up by a pretty substantial margin, that millage on that tax is going to come down to reflect that. So we had previously said it's roughly $185 per $100,000 of value on those properties. Now it's probably safe to assume that it's roughly $185 per $140,000 of value. So just because your property value has increased, it hasn't made this school project any more expensive. All right, on the state report card, I was pretty proud to see these numbers. I hope the rest of you were as well. We have once again received a 5-star rating. We actually had the second highest performance index score in the state of Ohio, which is based on academic success and financial info. Going on to this next slide here. How our school is funded currently, which I thought this was really quite interesting. You remember maybe from the last community meeting, if you were here, we had talked about the fact that we were one of the most, if not the most affordable school district by comparison to the other schools in our area. And this numbers here reflect that. All right, so if you look at Marion Local here in this middle column versus the state totals, 53.6% of our school funding is coming from state tax, right, which is 17% higher than the average school across the state. Our local funding, 29.2%, is 12% lower than the state average of 41.5%. I don't know if anyone saw the article in the Daily Standard a couple weeks ago. Salina's superintendent was kind of defending their scores on the performance index. Did anyone see this article? And he was reporting on the number of students in their district that are living essentially below or at the poverty line. Their number was 47.1% or something like that. Coldwater's was 14 and change. Fort Recovery's was almost 10. Ours was 3.3. All right, so I think my thought on this from the beginning is I know we as a community can afford it. It's more so a matter of if we can all agree that it's a need. This pretty well spells that out. So this is a measure of similar schools in size. I believe it was 117 schools that are comparable to our school as a whole. Our spending per student is here on the x-axis, and then the performance index is there on the y-axis going up and down. So us being in the top left corner is a dang good place to be. It means our performance index is the highest of all of these schools measured, and our spending per student is one of the lowest. The concern with this possible change from 20 to 28 in our student-teacher ratio is which one of these axes we want to move down. The concern would be obviously from a performance perspective, we could stay the same on our spending, and come down, or we can move a little bit up that x-axis in spending to keep our students achieving the way that they are.
Good evening. My name is Kaylee Fleck, and I was raised here in Maria Stein. My parents are Mark and Joan Schaefer. My husband Justin and I have 3 children, and we live outside of St. Sebastian on his family farm. What does it really mean to be part of a community? Community is much more than belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging matter. There are 4 components to having a sense of community: membership, influence, fulfillment of needs, and emotional connection. The Marion Local School District has influenced each of our lives in so many ways. Our childhood, the way we treat our families and friends, the way we aspire to raise our children, and the way we view and approach life. We are all here tonight to discuss the needs of our community school with a proposed solution to fulfill those needs. Everyone here has an emotional connection with this community and Marion Local Schools. We have all chosen to live here for reasons personal to each of us, but also for reasons that align with others: our faith, our values, our families and friends, our academic achievement, and our work ethic. The list goes on. Marion Local is our home. In this community, we take care of our homes and we take pride in them. It matters to us that when people visit our homes, they can feel the effort that has been put towards maintaining and improving them. I have no doubt that we all feel the same about this community, this school, our home. Let's keep our prideful history going and take care of our home for the future generations to come through this school district. Let's vote for our schools and be proud to do so, because we are Marion Local, we are Flyers, and we are committed to our community.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Beer. I've been a resident in Chickasaw for a little over 2 years now. Married to Kelly Schwarman, who's a 2011 graduate of Marion Local High School, and we have 2 young daughters, Laura and Andy, who are both future Flyers. Despite not growing up in the Marion community, there's always been something that drew me towards it. I knew from the very first wedding I attended here with Kelly that this was the place I would someday call home and raise our family. Now that I live here, I fully understand what drew me here a little bit more. This is a community that truly shows how much we can achieve. We put our faith and family at the top of the priority list. We're known not only for our academics and athletics, but also for a level of work ethic you will not find anywhere else in this country. And you can trust me on that one, because I've lived in a lot of states since I graduated high school. Our students work tirelessly in the classrooms and have their extracurriculars, and then go to their part-time job or back home to help run the family farm, which will someday be their legacy. What will our legacy be? All of us gathered in this gym here tonight and in our community have a chance to make a difference by voting for this levy on November 7th. The passing of this levy is an investment in the future of our community. People want to live here. That is a fact. Former graduates are moving back, subdivisions are being built, and businesses are popping up or growing. We need a school facility that can support this growth. I realize that they have started as an outsider, and I haven't been here for very long, but I believe in this community, and I'm proud to say that I'm now a Flyer for life. So please join me on November 7th to help secure a better tomorrow for all of our future Flyers, like my 2 daughters. And that, I'll hand it back over, and we can have some Q&A.
So as Kyle said, we're now at the Q&A portion of our meeting. We do ask, however, that if you have a question, please come down and speak to the microphone, because the last community meeting we did not have that, and it was very difficult to hear the questions. So without further ado, anyone with a question, please come on down.
Eric Kramer, I just do you guys consider new school, because you're already talking about 2 other phases after this first phase. My main concern would be we're still going to be paying for phase 1 before when we start phase 2?
That's a great question. Simple answer, we can't afford it. Our debt capacity, meaning the absolute number that our school district can spend, is $27 million and some change. This proposal is slightly over $23 million. As much as we would love to just put up a whole new school, we can't afford it. And phase 2 and phase 3 are very long-term. We have no idea when those will come in play. Phase 2 is the high school, and who knows, maybe state funding will come. I highly doubt it, but that's something that will come when it needs to be addressed. Any other questions?
Okay, I'm Scott Smith. I run a business here in Marion School District. I don't know about anyone else, but all my inputs have gone up in the past year or 2 years, and it's getting crazy. I'm very proud of this school. I'm proud of how you spent the money. I graduated 3 kids here, all of which are doing great in the world right now. All 3 have great jobs. So I'm very proud of what Marion Local has done for my kids. But I got some questions regarding the number of students per classroom. I know we've had some big classes in the past, and I think up to 100, as much as 100. And we've made it work. In the last Marion newsletter, and you posted it up there, we're 2nd out of 600 schools. That's very good academically. And I'm proud of that. That's great. And you're doing with what we've got.
70s, that was 100. Someone got the number for me. Anyone graduated in that class? 100 students in 1982. Okay, so the grade above that and below that were not at 100. They were much less. Not much less, I mean, they were big, but they were not even close to 100. The 2nd grade class right now is higher than that number. I don't know the exact number, it's in the hundreds. 102.
But you added some classrooms for that, correct?
We added some kindergarten classrooms, correct. However, coming up in 2026, that kindergarten class is above 120. Plus the grades coming around them are above 80s, they're 90s. Those are numbers that we have not seen cohesively together in back-to-back years. So I know we didn't do it in the past. Another change why it doesn't work is education has changed since the 70s. Did you sit in seats facing the board when you were in kindergarten through elementary school?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like that anymore. And that's not my decision. I'm not an educator, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a principal. That's education statewide. People are not taught like that anymore. There are student groups that use the floor space, there's tables, there's interaction. Education has changed, like anything has. So that's simply why it's not going to work like that, to raise the student-to-teacher ratio. It's not ideal, it's not something we want. That performance index, where we are 2nd in the state right now, will dramatically drop. Does that answer your question?
I mean, you've put out great students for years.
Absolutely, I agree. But it's changing. We are having way more students coming in, and it's just, we don't have the space.
Hi, I am not a very good speaker, but I taught religion for a couple years here in St. John, and I had 15 kids. And I tell you what, 15 kids, I had my hands full. And we were in the elementary, so, I mean, we are jam-packed in there. That was just 15 kids. And when I went to my first community meeting last time, I thought, what teacher is going to want to come here and teach 28 kids? There's no way. We're going to be losing teachers, the quality, the attention. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine having kindergarten, 1st grade, having 28 kids. I sub at the cafeteria here and help out with the cafeteria. It is like herding cattle. I mean, I feel so bad for these kindergartners and 1st graders. They come in and we are pushing them through. Hurry, hurry, sit down, get your milk, get your ketchup. Hurry, hurry, don't talk, hurry, hurry. And I'm not kidding you. Diane, it's awful. She says,
Sorry for them. I could cry some days when I see these poor kids because they can't enjoy their time eating. They have to hurry up and eat and shove food down their throat. Some kids are slow eaters, but they have to be done in 10 minutes or 15 minutes and out the door. It's awful. I feel sorry for them. And they shouldn't have to do that. They don't have to do it at home. They should have to do it here.
It's so stressful, it's very stressful.
Thank you, Nancy.
So I have a question about that. I think there was a question on your Facebook page in regards to what about having the junior high kids come over to the high school? And I think the response was weather concerns,
Weather concerns, safety liabilities, it's just
but yet
time
we're gonna
alone.
make that a high school gym and we're gonna have our junior high kids come over here. Isn't that the same thing? Different classes,
That's after school.
Yeah, I mean, it's
right?
football practice right now goes across over there. It's during school hours, it's just,
The question was, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I thought I heard it.
So when reading through your guys' Facebook page, a comment was made about what if we would send the older kids, 7th, 8th graders, over here for lunch? And there was concerns about weather and how it wasn't.
During school, that probably wouldn't work out because it's during school, you know. We're using this gym for the junior high gym for practice, after school activities.
So where is the?
Their gym class is still going to be in the junior high gym. I mean, you're still going to have gym class in there. The reason the gym is, the floor space is fine for a game, but it's the spectators that we don't have room for. Or when you're sitting in the classroom, you know, that kind of stuff. Like,
We have the connector, the existing, or the new project to the PT.
and we also, yes, the new gym will have the connector as well too. So they can walk from elementary to the high school for that gym space there as well. But also too, like when my kids play junior high, like I have an 8th grade son, and there's at some point he has 4 aunts, 2 uncles, a grandma and grandpa will watch him, and sometimes they can't all show up. They go to away games and watch because there's no space to watch, and that kind of stuff. So the gym space here would be made more for extracurricular activities, like the football team goes out there and walks out there. You know, it's after school where they're not coming through here every day, every period, and that kind of stuff.
I think it's also important to note that the time to go, to lot in their schedule to come over here for lunch, and then also to come back. So, you know, they're already rushed, trying to eat lunch at the elementary, and then to give them enough time to get over here, get the lunch period, and come back, and then also you're looking at the staffing of that as well. So you have to make sure your staffing is right enough over here while also being enough for the larger grades that are coming through elementary. And also with the gym, with the junior high gym being here, like Frank said, that is for like games and stuff, because we're gonna make the new gym, the high school gym, because that's gonna be larger. That's gonna be able to accommodate larger crowds for those game events. So that's the thought process there. But it's not saying that the junior high kids aren't going, they're gonna be in that new facility. Those 9 classrooms are for junior high. But when it comes to games, that new gym is gonna be focused towards the high school because of the availability in spectators, and it's gonna be bigger. Because the elementary gym now doesn't accommodate for the junior high games, which is why the thought process is to come here for those games. Does that clarify some things for you?
So at the first meeting, you guys laid out like cost analysis on, you know, what different things were gonna cost. What is the cost of the gym along with these new locker rooms and stuff? Do you guys have an estimate on what that is?
So we just have a total estimate, correct, of everything. And also, one thing to point out is we have to have locker rooms with the gym. We cannot build a gym per regulations without locker rooms. It has to be included. So it's not like we can be like, oh, let's cut this out, let's cut out and say, we have to have per state regulations, am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean.
We have to have locker rooms to accommodate. So those are things that we can really cut off just to save that money. And also, it's not about just the scheduling conflicts as well with the gyms, with all extracurriculars. This is going to have sounding improvements for the drama club. It's more than just about the sports, it's all the extracurriculars. Does that help?
I don't know, I think that you guys probably have an idea of what it's gonna cost, it's just.
The gym itself,
Yeah.
No, there was one lump sum.
it's one lump sum. We do not have an individual cost of that gym because it's built into an entire facility.
You may not, but they're, right.
We haven't got that far from a design standpoint to be able to pinpoint all.
There's an estimate.
So you don't have, but yeah, you can give us the total cost.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't add up.
It's by square
It's just a
footage. It's based on square footage.
It's what it is.
It's based on, yeah, the state calculations and everything on square footage.
Here, Matt.
Yeah, so my name is Matt Hickner with Conklin Miller. When we put the pricing together, if you remember at some of the meetings, we used the 2022 OSDM cost sets that come out from the state that are based on averages across the state. We look at whether it's going to be a middle school, an elementary school, a high school, and that's how we break down those numbers. So we don't have breakdowns of all the different costs. I mean, it's so preliminary. There's so many decisions that need to be made in order to pinpoint all those different features. So we use the general cost per square foot that the state gives us.
So it could go up or down substantially from the number that you proposed. correct?
Well, it could, but I mean, that's the goal of managing budget. So in the project, we have a maximum. We can't go above that. So we're going to have to trim if the cost, as we get further in design, you go through all the different base submissions where we're getting cost estimates along the way, we're going to have to evaluate that. So it's not like it's going to be designed 100%. We're going to hit different milestones all the way through that helps you evaluate the overall cost, and then from there you make modifications. So if you're seeing that you're maybe running 5% over, well, hey, maybe we're not going to do an upgraded floor system, or we're not going to do an upgraded roof system, but those are all decisions that the district will be able to make all the way through. So.
I was on the committee and I sat in all the meetings, and as far as the gym goes, at first I wasn't all on board because I love this gym. I love the fact that teams come in here, they're intimidated. It's small, the roof's coming down on them. They feel like they're outnumbered really bad. But what I found out while sitting through these meetings was these bleachers are in need of repair, not repair, they need to replace. And I don't remember, maybe somebody else remembers, with the replacement, how many seats?
We'll lose 200 to 300.
200 to 300 seats are going to be lost out of this gym if we keep this gym and replace the bleachers. So that was one of the reasons that we strayed away from keeping this and then just building it like a multi-purpose type building. It just made more sense in the long run to do things right, make it bigger, give us more floor space that everybody needs.
Mark Hardesty, and I did serve on the task force as well. And a lot of the things that you're thinking of or asking about, we asked about. Can we make this cheaper? Can we take this out? Then we did that and said, no, we don't like that. That doesn't fill our needs. And so this is a plan that took us almost a year to come up with a lot of people getting excited about this, excited about that, not always in a good way. And so it took a lot of working together to get to this point to say, what are our needs? What can we afford? What's the next step after this? Can we make that as far off as possible so that this is pretty much paid for before we go there? And how has education changed since I went to Walmart and there were 35 of us in class. Most of us survived. We need to do a little better than that today because education has changed. And so as I look at this plan, there were times when I wasn't in favor of where we're at, like Jeff. But when we got done, it was like, hey, everything's a little bit of a compromise in one way or another, but this is the best we can come up with. And so I can put myself behind it.
I have two questions. First off, we're adding more classrooms. How are we staffing them with more teachers? Where's that cash coming from? And we've got all these building infrastructure problems, plumbing, roofing, all that going on. What's going to help that? Are we just going to continue to slap more Band-Aids on, or is part of this, upping some plumbing or something like that?
Randy, can you chime in on this one?
CJ, the first question, just remind me again, the classrooms and how we're going to staff them, teachers, etc., out of our operating funds. So we have accumulated somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million to put toward this project over the past several years. That comes from smart budgeting and saving. That's how we're going to take care of the need here for future teachers. Just what we've been doing. We don't know exactly how many teachers we're going to have to hire in the coming years because these numbers are just projections at this point. We have a pretty good idea. We feel confident that with the money we've got coming in from the county, from the taxpayers, from the state, that we'll be able to staff them. Good question. Second one is a little tougher to address, and I think what you're talking about mainly was the high school, right? This is the place that has the reputation as being in disrepair, and it is, a lot of it. I mean, my dad went here in 1956, one of the first classes, so it's old, and it's decrepit in a lot of places. But we are Band-Aiding it. Is that right, Dad? Close enough. So we are Band-Aiding it. There's nothing else we can do. We just put a roof on half of what we call the shotgun hallway this past summer. We didn't do the whole roof, because that half was worse. I think there was water coming down in Mr. Sherrick's room, if I'm not mistaken. That's been taken care of. We have no other option but to, as you call it, Band-Aid. Somebody said we're actually duct taping, but it's the same sort of thing. We're going to limp this high school along. And I have one more thought on that. We don't know what the future of high school education looks like. I'm a 1990 graduate of Marion Local. TriStar was a thing then, but it wasn't nearly as popular as it is now. We didn't have College Credit Plus. We didn't have AP classes. We didn't have people leaving the school in droves. We have no idea in 10 years if that trend is going to continue. So, the timing on this is really good. I don't know that we want to build a new high school right now. Somebody asked that question earlier. I don't know that we want to build a new high school right now because we don't know in 10 years what the future of what we call 9 through 12 education is going to be like. I don't know if that's a good answer, CJ, but it's the answer. We are going to limp that high school building along as long as we have to.
I guess my question is, I know Garmin and Miller has provided the quote per se. Is it something that's being bidded, other quotes from other construction companies, etc.?
So they don't have an actual quote, and they have not been chosen to be the one that's going to do this project. Garmin Miller will have to do a request to bid, just like any other company that wants to have the opportunity to it. Any other questions? Cafeteria food service. The cafeteria food service area is designed to do 3 different lunch periods. It's the dining space that's going to be larger. The
Because the cafeteria space right now, when you think of it, there's the actual food service room, that's where the lines go through. This one, the food service will be designed to have enough for 3 solid lunch periods, similar to now, but it's the cafeteria and dining space area that's being cluttered. Any other ones?
My name is John Briggs, and it's on with the financing loop. I don't know, maybe it's been said and I just haven't heard. How many years do they anticipate the property tax, income tax? I mean, once it's going, it may keep going for quite a while. I know it's going to take some maintenance funds and everything like that. I just wonder, is there an estimate of the longevity of the tax?
Yeah, so on the property and the income tax is a 30-year bond. Levy, I guess is how you would say that. And I think that's important because coming back to what we were talking about here before with increase in spending and everything else, I've heard from multiple people based on the tax change this year, it's like, oh, well, tough time to have a school levy, you know. And my response is, does it really make a difference, right? Because the TriStar levy is a good example, which Randy just brought up. That's a finite number that was to be raised for that project, which means with our increasing property values, that millage is going to come down on that as well. The school is the same way. So whether it was passed in 2022 or today, this property value change was going to happen. And it's a 30-year bond issue. Those are redone every 3 years. We're going to be through 10 more of them again. And if, you know, our current housing market's any sign, it's not going to slow down, at least not yet. So if not now, when, really, is the question that I ask. We're 3 years away from being short classrooms. But yeah, 30 years on those.
It was brought up previously that Marion's one of the more affordable schools. Where would they rank after this, say this one passed? Is it still in line? Because I know as a tax professional, we're one of the few school districts that doesn't currently have an income tax. One of the few communities that don't have an income tax for the community. So I think we probably still be on the lower end to neighboring communities, but I just wondered if there was any data to back that up.
I actually don't know the answer to that. I remember from the last community meeting that even after this, we would still be on the cheap side by a pretty fair amount. A lot of that area schools or state level?
Like, no, in the area schools.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're one of the lowest, but we would move up, but we wouldn't move up past that.
Right.
No other questions? Okay, so that's going to wrap up our Q&A portion. Now, before you leave here, we have one question that we want to leave you all with. Here's an article from the Mercer County Chronicle that was published in 1956. Marion bond issue passes by 93% at Election Tuesday. 93%. It was actually so high of an approval vote that it set a new state record in passing the issue. Now, what was this issue? It was for the high school building, Marion High School, that main shotgun hallway. So nearly 70 years ago, the 6 towns in our school district came together and elected to combine our towns with Marion High School. 93% of residents voted for this. They voted for our school. Our generations before us understood the importance of education and an education system in our district. Now it's our turn to do the same. So here's the question that we would like to leave you all with. What has a higher priority than investing in your children, investing in your grandchildren, and making the investment in your community? I want you all to think about that answer before you vote on November 7th. And on behalf of the entire Levy Committee, thank you all for coming tonight. We do have printouts of our slides for any of you to take home.